All right, good morning and welcome to another webinar by JBC. Today we're going to be talking about email marketing, one of my favorite tools within the realm of digital marketing. So a little bit about the agency. So it's myself plus a team of three. We're providing digital marketing services across Eastern Ontario. So I will put in the chat if you do want to give us a follow. I've got some Instagram and Facebook, so you're welcome to follow us as we go through. So today, what you're going to learn about learning objectives, as any good teacher will tell you. So today we're going to talk about email marketing strategy. We're going to be talking about your contact list and what that means. We'll talk about some different tactics regarding your email campaigns, and then a little bit regarding e-commerce store. So this may not apply to everybody on the session today, but it's just like something I like to mention to get you thinking. So as we go through today's session, if you have any questions, you're welcome to put them in the chat. There will be some designated pause times that I'll review them and get to those questions. So importance of email marketing. Why is it so important? Again, it's one of my favorite digital marketing tools. And I think it's important because it goes directly to people who have shown an interest in your business or organization. They have either purchased something from you and said, yes, I want to receive more information, or maybe they're in the decision process of purchasing from you or working with you. So they subscribe to your newsletter to see what it's about. And that's why it's so important. They want to get communication from you. Many clients, when I start working with them and I bring up the topic of email marketing, they say, I don't want to bother them. And I say, well, people have subscribed to your email list, so they want to hear from you. And it's a very different perspective than what we would see on Instagram or Facebook, for example, because people follow you there. And do you feel like you're bothering them when you post something on Instagram? No. So it's a little bit different, yes, but somewhat the same kind of concept. So it is very effective communication. So email marketing is more effective than social media. So I'm talking about organic social media because we all know that there is so much information across all of the social media tools that we use, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, um, Pinterest, LinkedIn, what have you. We know the sheer volume of content, and we've all heard, content is king or queen, whatever you want to say. But there is so much of it that we continually have to sift through it, and people don't necessarily see all of our messages. So where email marketing is great is it's a message that goes directly to an inbox, which is excellent. And customers actually enjoy email marketing. And some people like to, I'll say, play the game of email marketing. They'll say, oh, if I sign up, then I get 10% off my first order. Or if I sign up, I get free shipping. And then they stay on as a customer or they continue to purchase from you. This is a statistic from the US. So if any Americans are joining us, welcome. But 91% of Americans are saying that, they do want to receive this type of promotion and updates from companies. The other thing it can do, and this is what I find as well, is to build relationships and stay top of mind with your clients and customers. This is done through what's called merge tags. So if anyone kind of remembers mail merges from back in the early 90s, where you could kind of customize letters and envelopes with people's names and addresses, you can do the same thing online through email marketing. So you can say, hey, Jennifer, we wanted to let you know about this great sale. So provided you've got that information, you can customize all of these emails to that client information that you've collected. So that's a pretty cool thing to do. So those are merge tags. We'll talk more about those. Email marketing will also influence purchases, and it can influence purchases. So when people open an email, you might present them with some ideas. So you might say, here's a new top that's in store. Here's some, flowers that are available for you. And it gets people thinking. Oh, okay, that's different. And then they click through and they can see more information about what it is that you're talking about. Now, the benefit here is you can see who has clicked through. So if I just click through, I was interested, let's say in that top that's, pictured on the screen, you're going to say, "Oh, Jennifer likes that top there. So let's kind of follow up with a little bit more information," which is something that you can do. You can't do that on social. You can see that people have clicked a picture of a shirt, um, but you can't niche it down to target people who have engaged with that particular post. But it's something you can do with email marketing. It's very different. Drives traffic, and also has a great return on investment. So over the past, I'd say year or two, many of the popular many of the popular email marketing tools or platforms, they've introduced either a fee for service or they've reduced their free plan. So some people naturally they get a little bit upset and they say, "Oh, I don't want to pay the, $20 a month or $30 a month," when in fact it's actually a really valuable tool. And I'll show you a little bit that you can actually see the return on your investment of purchasing of these tools. I will say for anybody who is located in kind of Eastern Ontario, if you haven't done so already, there's the Canadian Digital Adoption Program as well as Digital Main Street. So if you combine those two programs, it's around $4,900 that you can use towards these types of tools. So there is a little bit of eligibility you have to go through, but there's around $4,900 that you can use towards these types of tools. So just letting you know about that. So getting started, and today's session is focusing on MailChimp. That's something that our agency has used for a number of years. I have experience with the other tools. So Constant Contact was one that was very popular years ago, and people have migrated away from it into tools like MailChimp. There's also tools like Aweber and HubSpot and things like that. And what I like to say is use the tool that integrates best with your system. So MailChimp works great for us, works great for our clients. But just because I'm saying MailChimp's really super and great, it may not integrate perfectly with your system. So find the one that's going to integrate best. And I will talk about those integrations a little bit better. So it's all about finding the right fit. They're all generally going to do the same actions, but slightly different. So making sure that you find the one that is best for you. So generally when you're getting started with email marketing, so again, this session is like with the MailChimp lens, but find the one that works best for you. Okay. So basically at this point, none of them offer a really great free plan. It's pretty much at pay to play. So MailChimp has a free plan up to 500 emails. Constant Contact is only free for the first 30 days and so on. So find the one that's going to work best for you and find the one that's going to work best with your backend systems. So whether it's you've got a booking system or an e-commerce store, find the one that's going to work best with that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to set up lists and audiences, which we'll talk about. And then you start to get into your campaigns and your journeys. And then strategy, which we'll kind of sprinkle in throughout here, but that question of how often do I send newsletters? And this is where people they hesitate a little bit and they say, I don't want to bother people. I don't want to annoy people. And really you're not. And if, you're not right for that client at that time, they'll unsubscribe and that's okay. And I do that all the time. And it's simply for, managing my inbox, and I still follow maybe that client or business in a different way. It's just sometimes I have to reduce and I'll always subscribe later. And then always looking at your analytics, what is working best for you. So like I said, MailChimp, they do have a free plan. They've reduced it greatly in the last year or so, but you do get 500 contacts for free. That goes pretty quick. So just a caution that you'll probably end up in kind of the standard plan, sooner rather than later. But with that and with their free plan, you still get an audience, you get sign up forms, landing pages, and it does integrate pretty well and pretty good actually with Shopify, WooCommerce, and tools like Eventbrite. So let's talk about building an audience. So what's an audience? What's an audience? Does anyone know? Put it in the chat if you know what an audience is. Maybe nobody knows what an audience is. I would like to take this time to acknowledge that I have a student in this session today who was a student of mine when I was an economics TA, I think 17 years ago. So welcome, you know who you are. So when I taught economics, she was a student of mine. So your audience. Yes, it was that long ago. So your audience, so Wendy, yes, who is getting your emails? Correct. And Nicola, who are you sending it out to? Correct. That's kind of the basis. So who is that audience? So there is a difference between the phrase audience and contact, and sometimes they get used interchangeably a little bit. So the audience is an individual. So that's that individual email with a first name, a last name, and then any other information that you may collect. So it might be a birthday, um, it might be purchase information, things like that. Your audience is that aggregate. So it's that complete list of contacts. So it's an audience is a list of contacts, and a contact is an individual. So when you are building an audience, there's a few things that you'll need to watch. So we're going to go through 4 steps here. So familiarizing yourself with CASL, so the Canada Anti-Spam legislation. You're going to want to start as soon as possible. So the best time to start is now. So maybe after this session, if you think, shoot, maybe I should have started collecting emails, or I want to do this, the best time to start is now. Don't feel bad if you think, oh, I should have done this a while ago. That is, it's okay. Just start today or tomorrow. You can potentially use existing contacts provided you've got the correct permissions. And then there's always the idea to provide an incentive. So I'm going to give some examples about that as we go through. So for those of us who are located in Canada, all of our email marketing is kind of regulated by what's called the Canada Anti-Spam legislation. Sometimes it's called CASL, which sounds like a castle, but CASL, so CASL. So there's 4 criteria that we have to follow to ensure that we don't break any rules. So kind of the main part is, so the people, so these are your contacts. Did they give consent? Yes or no? Do you have a record of this consent? And this is sometimes where it gets a little bit fuzzy. And people say, oh, I was at a show and people put their name and address in a box and we did a draw for a bottle of wine. And, you know, I had put on the box, like, you're going to be added to my email list. You literally have to keep all of that to prove that, you know, you collected maybe these 100 contacts, they consented using this little piece of paper for the draw. So you have to keep all of that. So just an FYI as you go out and do more shows like that. Now, if people are signing up through an online means, so it might be on your website or a link, that's okay. They've provided that consent because it's going to track. It's going to provide IP addresses. It's going to provide date stamps. So that's a bit easier. It's when we're physically manually adding in these email addresses where it gets a little bit fuzzy. And see, so the question is, what if the consent was verbal? So that's tricky. So depending on verbal, so obviously there's probably some exchange of like a physical good, so even a business card. So in the first example here, so did they say, please contact me? So that's an example of consent. So they've provided a business card to you and said, please contact me. That's an example of consent. Likely there's some exchange, because if I came up to you, Nicola, and said, yeah, please add me to your list. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ABCDEFG at gmail.com. Like, it's going to be a little bit difficult. So likely there's a tangible piece associated with that verbal exchange, and it's likely that email address. So this implied consent may be valid up to 2 years or just 6 months. So depending on the type of that consent. Now, this is something that I heard, and I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was a client or just kind of like at arm's length. And basically, once people are on your list, they provided that consent, you're good, and you've been emailing them, and that's great. But what this client had done, and again, I don't know if it was a client or arm's length, but they said they had a list with dates. So August 3rd of 2022, let's say, or 2021. And anybody who had contacted them on that date. And there was, let's say, 20 people in it. So after 2 years, they were going into the database and then just deleting all of those emails because they were thinking that implied consent was gone now. But provided they're in the database and they're interacting, it's fine. It's just you have up to 2 years to get them on your list. So you don't have to go back and babysit all of this data, okay? It also refers to the type of messages that you're sending. So are they being sent an email? Is there SMS? Because there's a lot of those marketing SMS systems now. And then does it contain commercial or promotional information? So there's two types of emails oftentimes that you will see with business transactions. So if you've ever done any online shopping, so you've bought something from Amazon or wherever, there's two types of emails potentially. So the first one that you're probably most familiar with is called a transactional email. Okay. So the transactional email will appear as thank you for your order. Your order number is 123. And here's your receipt. Here's your delivery details, kind of full stop. Right. So that's a transactional email. And then you may receive a few more follow-ups to that saying, your order is out for delivery. It's been, collected, whatever. So they're transactions. So they're emails related to their transaction. And those are okay. The type of email that we're talking about today is promotional. So it's outside the scope of a specific transaction. So it would just be, let's say you bought something on Amazon and then 2 months later it's saying, hey, Jennifer, we wanted to let you know about this new, sheet set or this Mario game. That has nothing to do with the transaction. That's promotional. So that's where this consent is required. Big difference between the two. The third part is your message must include your business name, mailing address, and some form of contact. So phone number, email, website. So basically identifiable contact information so that people can say, oh, okay, this message is coming from JBC. This is their address. They're in Kingston. Okay. Now, if you are using a tool like MailChimp or Constant Contact, that's standard. They just include that automatically for you. And I'll show you what that looks like right here. So on any of the footer messages, so you can see this Canada Anti-Spam Act, and that's what these merge tags are doing below. It's simply saying this is the information about the company, the sender, that is the company. Okay. And then the last part, which again is something that MailChimp, Constant Contact, and so on will do for you, is it allows for an easy unsubscribe. So I don't know if we can see it in the screen here. No. But it will say on any email, unsubscribe. And that's it. Not a put in the subject line, unsubscribe, and I'll do it for you, where you feel maybe a little bit awkward. But it has to be a simple one-click unsubscribe. Okay. So those are the main pieces. And again, if you're using a tool like this, it's going to be included for you already. Okay. So now that we've gotten through consent. Oh, Brandon's got a question. Doesn't MailChimp have an easy tool somewhere to confirm consent? Yep. So here's the thing. So if you've got that enabled, then if I consent and want to receive email notifications from you, it's going to send me an email that says, do you want to receive this? Yes. So that's called double opt-in. So again, it's another kind of fail-safe. So they can always unsubscribe at that point too, if it was a mistake or error. Okay, so now we're going to start adding people in. So we've gotten through the anti-spam legislation. I would encourage you to kind of go and look more at that, making sure you're kind of doing everything above board. But the next thing that you can do is look for those integrations. So again, this may depend on the tools that you're already using within your organization. So you can check for integrations that will sync all of your audiences and contacts. So when people have made a purchase, so let's pretend you are an e-commerce store, or even if you've got no, that wouldn't work. No, let's just start with e-commerce store. So provided people have an e-commerce store, they've already got that checkbox in there. Shopify's already got it in there for you. And tools like Lightspeed, for example, it will say, do you want to sync all of your contacts? So it's going to take all of your contacts from Shopify and put them into MailChimp for you. Now, they will have to meet the criteria that they have said yes to these promotional emails. So when you do this, you'll say, oh, I thought there was, let's say, 1,000 people in here, but only 400 are showing up. That's because it's already done that checks and balances for you. So those 400 have said yes, and those 600 have said no. So you're good. There's also tools like QuickBooks. So I use QuickBooks for all of my invoicing. So there is the option when I send invoices if people want to subscribe to my emails. So that's kind of a cool thing. So if you use that, that's available. If you run events like this on Eventbrite, and this is probably how maybe you've ended up on my email list over the years. Again, there's an opt-in when you are subscribing and signing up for events like this. So there's tools with Eventbrite. So they have lots and lots of integrations. So let me just bring that up for a minute, and then you can take a peek and kind of, I'll say self-identify if they make sense for you. All right. So this is the integration. So over on the left-hand side of MailChimp, there's integrations and then Discover. So this is where you can key in if you've got any CRM software. So I see here there's Salesforce, there's our QuickBooks, and then you can see in this kind of leftish column here, all the other tools. So let's click on e-commerce. So I'll just scroll through and you can say, oh, I use that, or nope, don't use that. So they've got, 59 options in here. Okay. And the one thing to note about all of these integrations, they're all made differently. So they're all going to do different things. So just because Shopify does, a certain set of things doesn't mean that, let's say, Lightspeed is going to do the same thing. So it's going to give you an idea of what it's going to connect and what information will it bring over. So it will bring over contacts, it will bring over products, and so on. So I encourage you to look at these integrations and just see what works. Okay. And again, before you make a purchase decision into any email program, find the one that works best, because they're all a little bit different. So I had someone contact me about that they said, oh, the integrations aren't what I wish they were. And I'm like, just do your research before. It doesn't matter to me what you use. Just make sure it works for you. Okay. So check those integrations. It will bring it over automatically for you. And then you can get into very simple things like sign-up forms. So these sign-up forms appear as a pop-up on our site. I believe it's like immediately after being on our website, you can sign up. But you can change the parameters of this ever so slightly as well. So if it can be upon exit, a certain percentage of time being on our page, and then the composition and kind of the structure of this can change as well. So you've got those basic sign-up forms. These are included in the free plan or the paid plan. And then you can have people add themselves to the list at any point. You can use things like website headers and footers. So at the bottom of a website, at the top of a website where people are signing up, always include things like that. And you can have multiple. You don't just have to have one. Use multiple places and spaces for people to sign up. And then there's lead magnets. What's a lead magnet? Can I ask what a lead magnet is to the session? Something that draws them to you. Lisa, my good student from 17 years ago, a free offering when someone joins your list. Ah, yes. A call to action. Yes. So it's getting people to do something. So we're doing an exchange, a non-monetary exchange. And here, so this is honestly, I love they're called Social Media Examiner. I've been reading them for probably 13, 14 years at this point. Really great for social media news. And this is our lead magnet. And it's very simple. It looks almost like that sign up form we had earlier. So it says, enter your first name, put in your email, send me a copy. And with that exchange, they're going to send me this industry report, white paper, whatever. And now I'm on their email list. And they know that I've came through their email list through this industry report lead gen form. So you can do this as well. And these are done through journeys or automations. So depending on where people enter, and when I say enter, it could be a footer or a header. It could be a sign up form. So any one of those, you can add tags to people. So then you can say, oh, Jennifer came through this lead generation form. So now Jennifer is interested probably in these types of emails. Okay. So that's something to consider. And then there's also the events through Eventbrite. So this is the one that we're in today. And as you sign up for these, people are now on my email list, and you're all tagged in my contacts now in MailChimp that says you have attended today's session. So now if I have follow-up sessions related to email marketing, I can specifically send, emails just to you and the 35 other people who are here, knowing you came to this initial session. So that's very nice as well. That integration is quite good. And then other ideas. And there's lots of other ideas. We've only got 50 minutes here today. But things like email signatures. It could be on invoices. You can share it on your social media. And that can be done through organic social media. It can be done through paid social media campaigns. You can have QR codes. And I'll show you actually where you can get that. I'm going to bring over my screen in a second. So let's give you a show here. Okay. So in MailChimp, under audience, so I think these are supposed to be people. They're people here. We've got our audience dashboard, our contacts, but really what I want to look for here is the sign up form. And this is where you get all those options that I've told you about. So we've got the embedded form. So these are things that we can embed right into our website. You can keep them as simple or make them more complicated if you want. And keeping them simple and not asking for a lot of information. The more information you will ask, the less likely they are to complete it. Okay, so in that lead generation form for that industry report, all it said was first name and email. That's it. They didn't ask for a last name. They didn't ask for a country. First name, email. Keep it simple for those contacts. The pop-up, which we haven't enabled on our site, and again, it's included in your free plan, so you can always pop in and check out if it works for you. So there's our style. You can change your layout so we can kind of make it more horizontal. I'm not going to change anything. Sometimes I do, and then I forget what it looks like. So then you can say when you want it to pop up to your visitors. So, and you can play around with this as well, depending on your business, your organization, and what makes sense. So you can always play around with that. And then the position of it. Okay. And then you simply add it to your email. And it does it pretty quick. I've had some team members who said it was done pretty quick. If you go under Form Builder, this is where you can find your QR code. So I've made a form for a different type of email. This is the link. So if you've seen these links kind of around on the internet, this is directing you to MailChimp to sign up. So you can use that on any like link tree or in any social posts. Or Twitter. But if we look over here, it's a QR code. So if you scan that, it's going to bring up the form. So this QR code is good. I want to say if you take your business on the road. if you're doing shows, if you're doing conferences and people simply want to, scan to sign up, and it might be part of a contest that you're doing. So you can get rid of that box of papers. So it could be a scan to sign up. Okay. It's going to bring them right to that sign up form. Okay. So there's a lot of information in here that you can gather from your contacts for your audience. Oh, yes, Chris. So Chris just asked, do people use QR codes anymore? So the pandemic, that was the greatest pandemic, like comeback story ever. QR codes, people have finally figured them out. And the reason they figured them out is a lot of our devices now, it's embedded in the camera. So we don't have to have a separate app to scan a QR code all the time. But just don't take me to your website. Like take me somewhere that it's valuable. Yeah, that's the greatest comeback of the pandemic. It's QR codes. Okay, now segmenting. So we've made an audience. We've got 100 people in our audience, and now we can segment them. And what do you think segmenting means? What do you think it means? Grouping them. Yes. Categorizing them. Separating them. Yes. Perfect. And I love the concept of segmenting based on interests. Yes, interests in a whole bunch of other things. So I'll show you what we can do. So your segments start to organize your contacts based on a whole bunch of options, I'll say. So it can be email preferences, it can be commerce activity, it can be location, it can be birthday, purchases, pretty much everything. And MailChimp, among the others, they have pre-built segments. So it can say potential customers. So they're contacts on your list, but they've never made a purchase. It can look at people who've made 2 or more purchases in your store. It can be people who haven't bought from you in the last 8 months. And MailChimp can understand all of this data, real-time data. So let's look at these segments here. So under your audience, we looked at sign up forms. Now we're looking at segments. So in the top right-hand corner, we've got create segment. I'll just call it great people. And then what you want to do is start to add filters. So how you organize here, I can say, I want to take everybody who is tagged. Oh, there's us. There's all of our people. So I just want everybody who was tagged in today's session. And I can click review segment, and it's going to bring, I think there was 53 people who've signed up. Okay. So that would be all 53 of you. Or I could do the inverse. So I've got around 1,000 people on my list, not a big list, but still good. I can say, I want everyone who didn't come to today's session and say, hey, this is what you missed. So for all of your email marketing, there's always 2 sides to every story. So it can be, hey, you came to the session, thanks so much. Or it can be, hey, you missed the session, buy a copy of the recording. Okay, so let's look at another one here. We could look at birthdays. So if you're collecting birthday information, you could say, hey, I want everybody who was born in the month of August, and I want to send a coupon for a free cup of coffee, or I want to send, a 10% discount on any online purchases. Okay. So inverse here, the birthday is blank. So I could send an email saying, hey, we don't know when your birthday is. Let us know and we'll send you a special treat on your birthday. So there's always an inverse here. So that's kind of the personal information. And then down here, we can get into email interaction. So we can talk about, hey, you opened this email. you clicked on this email, you were sent this email, but then we can also do the inverse. They did not open any of my last 5 campaigns. And I can say, hey, where'd you go? Because it's tracking all of this information. It's tracking all of the activity. So that's one idea. Another idea is for any of the e-commerce businesses in the room, we can say amount spent. So how much they're spending. And this is for anyone who's ever considered that VIP treatment through email. So maybe that VIP threshold, let's say, is $1,000. So maybe the customers they've reached that $1,000 threshold. Now they're a VIP. And now you've got a list of them. It's real time. So as people continue to purchase, they kind of meet that threshold. And I'll give one last example. Products. And then we can go into products purchased. So it's a bit different for me because I'm a service provider. I've got, not a lot of products. I've probably got a dozen. But for those of you with catalogs of products upon products and you've purchased one thing, you can do. So, hey, you bought that blue top. You know what looks great with that blue top? These pants. You can do those types of emails as well. Okay. So that's all available in here for you under segments. So Lisa asked a question, and the question is, and that data is based on the integrations in Eventbrite or Shopify, both. So you can have multiple integrations. So I have my e-commerce provider, which is WooCommerce. I have Eventbrite, and they all talk to each other and they just kind of layer on the data for you. Okay. So whether you're purchasing with Eventbrite or whether you're purchasing with WooCommerce, it layers on all of that data. And like I said, there's an unlimited way to segment this email list. And I would review this and just say, like, what makes sense for my business? Does purchase amount make sense, or dollar value, or if they're opening or not opening emails? So it's a great way to kind of poke people who maybe signed up for your email and just see like where they went. Because you can, I showed the last 5 emails, but it's a variable is also has not opened the last 50 emails. So depending on how often you send emails, like maybe they haven't opened an email from you in 3 years, you can poke them and say, hey, what's happening? Okay. All right. And I've mentioned this phrase before. So the campaign versus a journey. I'm a fan. So a campaign is what most people are familiar with. I do use it interchangeably as well, but it's that regular email. So it's that picture of sitting down, creating an email and saying, hey, we're doing an open house, or this is a new product, or this is a service offering that I have. It's a one-off standalone email. Within here is we can create automations for them, but you can also have landing pages and other things. So it's kind of that regular campaign that we see. Now, what people are getting more curious about is this, and this is called a journey. And journeys are great because you set it up once and you don't have to babysit it. And what I mean by that is somebody has signed up. So if we look from top to bottom. So somebody has signed up to, in this case, it says the potted planter, or they have been tagged the farmer's market. They go through a journey. So after an hour of signing up, they then get a welcome email that says, welcome to our business. And then if they open it, then they continue on a journey. So it could be, welcome, here's your 10% off code, here's our first ebook, and so on. Or if they don't open it, in this case, the journey ends, but you might send a different email that says, hey, you missed our, initial email, and so on. So these are automated. And I'm getting asked more and more to do these automations because they're pretty cool. These do require standard plans. So there is huge value in them, but MailChimp will make you pay for them, just an FYI. But you can make journeys for pretty much anything. So let me just bring over my page for a second and I will show you. And some of them do integrate with other tools. So we've got welcome new contacts. They welcome if you came through a pop-up. And then we can start to see how they integrate. So there's Zapier with Google Drive. It's something to do with Google Form submissions. There is adding a Calendly event to your audience. There's a Square purchase. And again, I'm not going to go through all of these, but some of these are already pre-built for you. So it's just a matter of turning it on and saying, hey, like this is what we're going to do. Okay, so we've got re-engaging people, abandoned carts. And then there's also transactional emails, which we did talk about. So before you kind of task yourself or a team member with building something from scratch, you can start with a pre-built journey and then customize it. So you can say, okay, this is kind of what I want, sort of idea. And then you can always tap to say, use this journey. And then you can still customize it, which is great, but you get kind of the starting pieces to it. Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, it is. It can save a lot of time. Start with an idea. And really what I recommend, so if you're thinking, well, which one do I do? You can do both. So you can have these automated journeys happening alongside these one-off emails that you're doing. Okay. So some tips about your email marketing. First and foremost, keep it simple. Email marketing has this bad reputation that it is a essay, that it's a newsletter that I want to say the newsletters, maybe I remember my parents getting when I was in elementary school, and it'd be like 3 pages and you'd read through all of these stories about the school. No, newsletters are simple and it's singular focus. What do you want me to do with this email when I open it? Register for a workshop, book a time with you, buy the pair of pants. So if you do subscribe to any newsletters from, I'll say, bigger companies, watch for that. So this one here from Kate Spade, it just says, thank you. You've been added to our list, shop now. It's really all they want you to do. Making it very clear and catchy. So I think, I don't know what it's called, PC Optimum now or something. Anyways, I get these emails. Very clear. PC Express shopping, something about getting bonus points, shop now. It's a single topic. I don't want to hear about the fact that you have new inventory, that I can get 15,000 bonus points and that our store hours are this and that, we have a new employee. Her name is, Jane. It's too much. We're in overwhelm. Clear and catchy. What do you want me to know? And same thing with this. So this is 2021, but I used it because it's still a great example. This one was about, so where I'm from, they have like a maple syrup type event in the month of March. And it was just, here's what's happening, Maple Madness. This is what we can do, full stop. So they did a really good job at this. It was just one topic that they were addressing at that particular time. And it's so good that I put it in my presentation. So now that we've gotten through thinking, okay, are we going to do campaigns and journeys? We've got a simple singular focus for all of our email. When should I send my email? And this is always a question. My team members and we talk about this as well. So what I'm going to provide to you is generalized information. But what I would like you to do is to test for yourself what time you get the most opens, when people are clicking. So, best day of the week. We've got peaks on Wednesday, Thursday. Okay. Wednesday, Thursday, and that's kind of general. We have had some success with Sunday nights. For whatever reason, everybody now wants to send emails Monday morning. And I get it that they're sending it to start the week off, but everybody seems to be doing these Monday morning emails now. So maybe break out of that a little bit if you find that your open rate has gone down a little bit. And then optimal time of day. So this one is saying around 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. Okay. Are they opening it because they just open it to close it to get rid of the unread mail? Are they actually making a decision at that time? And what we have found with a lot of our e-commerce customers is we send the emails 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, because that's when our customers have the time to do online shopping. And they sit down after their kids have gone to bed and then do what they need to do. So while this is saying 11 o'clock, it's something to try, but I also want you to look at what works for best for you. So I see that Amanda's saying Sunday night at 9 works really well for her. So then here's this other layer as well. Optimal time based on age. So I don't know the age of everyone in the room, but if you're a young professional with no children, your day looks very different from my day as, can I say, a mid-range professional? I don't want to say middle-aged, mid-range, medium-aged professional with a young child versus my parents who are retired and have all the time of the day to do whatever they please. Okay. So again, thinking about your target audience, the college 40s and over retirement, when are they clicking? What does that look like for them? Okay. So again, layering on a little bit more about your audience. Okay. And test. Okay, so we have come to our question time. So I see that there's one question from Raisa. So I will answer that, but you're welcome to put any of your other questions in the chat. And then while I'm doing that, get to the questions. Okay, Raisa, if we want to incorporate a questionnaire form to initiate customer orders and follow up with a service plan, do you recommend using MailChimp forms for this too? Potentially, yeah, you could do that, Risa. I guess it depends on what the questionnaire is. Like if the questionnaire is for the purpose of the order, potentially that might work for you. And again, it reduces an additional tool. Okay, so there was a question of a newsletter being started by an organization and the reach out to your existing customers with a one-time. Technically, you're really not supposed to, but for the most part, people are going to make a big fuss about it. If you're sending personalized email, maybe you're checking in with your clients, maybe you do this on an annual basis. You can say, hi, George, wanted to make sure that all of your accounts are in order, so on and so forth. Please sign up for our newsletter. So you could do it on an individual basis, potentially. If you haven't ever asked your clients to join your list, what's the best way to do that? Sending an email, and you can say, you could do a BCC potentially and say, hey, clients, I have started an e-newsletter. This is what you're going to get out of the newsletter. You can sign up using this link. BCC, not everyone can see everyone's email, but BCC. How do you integrate email marketing with LinkedIn posts? I think I need more information about that because email marketing really should just be email marketing. I wouldn't just take the newsletter and put it on social media. That takes away the exclusivity of it, and then people just might not subscribe. When you send out a campaign that a person forward, that's a great question. So the question is about forwarding. So if you received an email from me and maybe you forwarded it to a colleague, they can unsubscribe on your behalf because you've got that email signature that is linked with your personal information. I've seen this with organizations as well that didn't know this, and they would send it to some, clients that they have, and it would say so and so employee has opened this email 500 times. Um, and it's because their initial email address is attached to that email that's now been forwarded. So what you could do is remove kind of the base part of that, the footer, because then it's less likely to be attributed to you, and then other people can't unsubscribe on your behalf. So Claire asked, does the system allow for best times and days? Yep. So MailChimp does have a service that it will suggest best times and days to send. That is more of a premium feature, but a lot of the time it's really knowing when your customers, what their habits are and when they're online and when they have that time to commit to reading or engaging with a newsletter. And if you've got any more questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I do have upcoming webinars in September, October, and November. So I have put them in the chat there. So we've got Canva, meta ads, and content creation coming up. So you're welcome to join for that. If you enjoyed today's session, I encourage to leave a Google review for us. It's always appreciated. And if you want to give us a follow on various respective social media, you can do so here. Claire, I meant specifically to international versus North American audiences. Let me just see your question. Yes, yep, it will. Yeah, the MailChimp system will. It will tailor it depending on where your clients are. Okay. So I'll stick around for a couple more minutes if there's any other questions that come in. Thank you everyone for attending today's session. There was lots of great questions. I always enjoy sessions like this. For those of you who have purchased a copy of today's session, it will be emailed out within the next 24 hours. If you do want a copy of today's session, it will be live on our website the next couple of days. And thank you everyone for attending. Thanks, Wendy. Have a great day.